Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so we are back again with another exploration guide of Act 8.2. Now we're making all our way through this entire chapter. Now it's 8.25 for this video. If you want to take a look at the previous ones, check out the same playlist that this video is going to be part of. I put them all in one playlist conveniently for you. As always, we're going to be going through all of the lanes. I'm going to be describing the general gist of them and suggesting the best possible options, as well as boss fights. Now, I do know that some of you are rather visual observers or just want to save yourself a bit of time. So here is a brief write-up. Yes, and I will be bringing this back at the end of the video, but here is effectively kind of like all of the path identities and the hints or the best options to use, as well as the boss fights. Now, again, at the end of the video, I will be bringing this back so you can take your screenshot then. But meanwhile, let's just start from one path and make our way all the way around and then get to the bosses. So this first one, aggression, cruelty, bob and weave, parry, vulnerability, and whittle down. So basically on this lane, you can kind of use pretty much whatever champions. It's very generic. If you do want to avoid getting crit through block, which isn't the biggest problem in most cases, then, you know, you just need to intercept the opponent. But in general, the biggest thing about this path is having 3 debuffs. So you can do your full damage and then benefiting from parry, vulnerability. And that is it, really. So given the fact that most of the champions here are Mystic and Cosmic and Tech, I suppose, so bring in, you know, corresponding class relationships. So bring in some Science champions and bring in some Mystic champions, I'd say, and you will do just fine. There isn't anything too scary. There is Dr. Doom at the end again. But Dr. Doom has relatively low crit rate, so you don't even really need to worry about parrying him as long as you have like suitable counters to the fights themselves. Again, so Mystics against like Hyperion and Science champions against Dr. Doom and Sasquatch, you will be fine. The main point is bringing champs that inflict at least 3 debuffs, so you do full damage whenever you do clear this lane. And that's pretty much it. There's no extra to it. Get your parry in, hit them. You're gonna have your fury. Make sure you have your debuffs, and you're gonna be happy go lucky guy. Now here we have a micro stinger, disarm, wall knockdown, heavy knockdown, loose cannon, aggressive node. And out of all of the weapon nodes and the bonuses that you can get, this one kind of seemed the least worth it. I almost kind of want to recommend just completely ignoring all of these nodes. Just keep on knocking the opponents down, disabling their weapon. Capturing it can be helpful. It is meant to be used by champions with a lot of prowesses, ideally. So you would do better bringing in Kitty, Bishop, Sauron, Toad, champions like that. APOC did quite well in this path. But yeah, compared to all of the rest of the paths, the main thing to do here is just bring in path the counter for Mangog. I just brought in like Human Torch, pretty much ignoring all of these nodes against Mangog, and that was fine. And then for the rest of the fights, they're filled with like Agent Venom that you do want to have counter with, and the rest of it is pretty much kind of like standard and self-explanatory. That micro stinger path, effectively, whenever the defender activates special attack, they inflicted non-stacking power sting passive. So whenever you knock the opponent down, you disable this node. And if you drop them down with a heavy attack, you can steal that node. And whenever you activate a special attack, you will be inflicting a power sting on the opponents. And it is a sizable power sting. Offensively, you can't ignore it if you haven't disarmed the weapon. But when you are using it, again, you might as well just bring in like your Archangels and whatnot, whatever helps you deal with the fights best. Again, Kitty, Bishop, Toad, Sauron, APOC are great options for this lane, but the most important thing is just, yeah, don't get hit by a power sting and you'll be fine. Out of all the weapon nodes, that definitely was kind of like the least fun or impressive, I suppose. Now, this next lane is actually quite interesting. We have Siphoning Strength, Power Armor, Occult Equilibrium, Armored Assault, and Armor Break Immunity. And OG Guillotine actually kind of shines here. It is a bit hard to do complete cheese with OG Guillotine because there are several of these opponents that start with an armor up buff, but against everybody that doesn't, you can have quite a bit of fun. And the entire point is that this is that broken, busted, mystic, Abby EQ, Thronebreaker EQ node combination, where each time a mystic attacker inflicts power, drain, burn, or steal on the defender, you gain a fury. So this will synergize very well with the next node as well. Each time a mystic attacker gains a regeneration effect, you power drain the opponent. So OG Guillotine becomes absolutely broken with this node combo. Additionally, obviously, also Black Widow Clairvoyant, Dr. Doom, and a handful of other Mystic champions will do phenomenal here. Now, whenever either champion gains a bar of power, the defender gains an armor buff that can also work in your favor. But if you are managing to nullify them and if you have Mystic Dispersion, Armor Break Immunity is kind of annoying, and Armored Assault, obviously, will be a bit frustrating at start in some of these fights that start with an armor buff active. But again, Dr. Doom, Black Widow Clairvoyant will deal with that just fine. But again, try OG Guillotine. I was finding that quite fun with OG Guillotine. Moving on to the next lane. The next lane, again, is one of those Abby EQ, Thronebreaker EQ node combinations where basically you need Cosmic Champions with a lot of buffs, and then you're going to gain ability to bypass miss. And with that, you're going to be gaining Furies. You will be getting Falter passive on you on every 10 hits on your combo meter. But if you are using a Cosmic buff heavy champion, you virtually always will have this Vigilance buff active, allowing you to bypass miss. And that's going to give you a bunch of Furies, and you're going to be gaining extra damage and all that other good stuff. So, what you want to use here is Odin, Angela, Odin's pre-fights on any random Cosmic champions, your Hercules, your CGR with Odin's pre-fights, your Silver Surfers, and so forth. All of those Cosmics will do well. The one thing that you do want to make sure is that you do have a counter for Iceman, so something that's Cold Snap immune or super resistant to Cold Snap, or alike. So very simple, from top of my head, solution here could potentially be Silver Surfer. Why not? Won't take any damage there. He can get a lot of buffs, or High Sig Angela, for instance, especially, or even a low Sig or medium Sig Angela with Odin's pre-fights will work well. And then there's also a Killmonger on a path, so you do want to have access to armor breaks, or you're going to have to play relatively carefully there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very straightforward Cab EQ, Thronebreaker EQ path. It doesn't require too much of an explanation, in my opinion. Now we have weapon node Darkhold pages. Whenever defender crits or hits into the attacker's block, they inflict a stagger debuff for 10 seconds. If these staggers nullify a buff, they deal a burst of 200% direct damage. In order to disarm it, intercept it, and in order to capture it, you need to use your level 2. There's also Combat Deja Vu Unblockable and Mystic Ward. So again, just like first time we saw this weapon node in one of the earlier quests, there are 3 ways to deal with it. You can bring in champions that are nullify immune, like Omega Sentinel or Galen or whoever you want. You can bring in science champions who are buff immune, in which case staggers will just give you willpower healing and have no adverse effect. Or you can bring in the intercept assist champions or shrug off champions from skill class like Elsa or Kingpin or Black Panther or Shang-Chi in order to purify these staggers when you have them on you, intercept the opponent, and then knock them down to special 2. And then obviously you can benefit from this node using any champion, because due to Combat Deja Vu Unblockable, you will consistently be refreshing and giving opponent that unblockable buff. But if you have captured the weapon, then you will also be staggering that buff all the time. So that's effectively how you can deal with this lane. So you can bring in your science champions that are debuff immune. You can bring in your skill champions that can purify those staggers until you intercept and level 2 knock down your opponent, or you can bring in nullify immune champions. As you are doing the fight, you want to intercept your opponent, knock them down with a level 2, and then you want to purposefully trigger this combat deja vu unblockable node to make sure the staggers get rid of it and they take that degen burst damage. On the path, we have Hulk, Scarlet Witch, so better bring in somebody that's poison immune as well. We do have an Eyeless, and then Yellow Jacket maybe can kind of be annoying, but, overall it's not the worst set of opponents. And the final node here is Reinvigorated, Unblockable, Aggression, Regeneration, Retaliate, Indomitable, and Aggressive. Here, the name of the game will be effectively use heal block tech champions. And thanks to Retaliate, you will get a massive attack boost. Whenever you see Retaliate node, the goal is you want to take opponent's special attacks on your block on purpose, taking block damage, but you will be getting massive fury buffs for each hit of your opponent's special attack that you block, and that will help you finish these fights quicker. Now, Warlock technically doesn't count as a heal block, so you still need to pay attention to Reinvigorated Unblockable, and opponents will eventually go unblockable if the fight lasts long enough. But with the combination of Aggression, Regeneration, and the opponents that you are going up against, you will be able to nuke through these fights with Warlock as well. But what you want to use is somebody like Omega Sentinel, somebody like Rocket, somebody like Silver Centurion, so on and so forth, effectively access to heal block, and that's it. Then just keep your opponent heal blocked, take your specials on the block, take opponent's specials on the block, and you're going to get massive attack boost. This was a very fun lane, by the way. But yeah, Warlock and Rocket and whatnot. So that is about it that is about it for the path fights. And now the boss fights. And the boss fights this time around are very straightforward. Penny Parker is effectively just Penny Parker. There is Pumping Iron node, which dictates that you use a champion that has at least 3 buffs. And then we have Mighty Charge, which basically does nothing. It does something, but, there's Mighty Charge, and then you get Foresight. So your standard Penny counters are in the Cosmic class that are buff heavy, so go ahead. Use your Hulkling, use your Gallon, use your Venom, use your Venom Pool, use your Gore, even though you need to be careful of Mighty Charge. Or you can also bring in Magneto. Magneto is going to do just fine here because Magneto does have access to plenty of the buffs. And you can also get a guaranteed intercept with Magneto too, getting that 200% attack increase. But in general, it's just basically Penny with Mighty Charge and not much else to it, so nothing too crazy. And now Cersei. Cersei is also very simple. It sounds more complicated, but just bring in a neutralized champion or a Mystic nuke. There is Vigorous Assault buffet over time, and obviously Cersei can heal herself as well. So obviously you do want to keep on top of her buffs, but, Tigra did this fight in like 45, 50 seconds. Then we have Rintress, we have Wiccans, we have Longshots, we have Doctor's Dooms, we have whatnot. So as long as you are able to deal with Cersei's buffs, this is going to be quite an easy and straightforward fight without stressing too much. And on top of it, obviously, Mystic Dispersion Paradise, basically. They even give you Mystic Ascendancy bonus here, so yeah. Tigra, Rinter, Wiccan, Longshot, Doom, what have you. Claire will do fine as well, probably with level 2s. And the last boss fight is also kind of very plain. There's not much going to it. There's Aggression Prowess on Kitty, and there's Oscillate. But aside from that, we have the Quick Spark and Hot and Bothered that can make you get incinerated, but as long as you manage to be aggressive, you'll be fine. But in reality, it's just a Nimrod nuke. You can use other champions as well. You can obviously use Infamous Iron Man, you can use Omega Sentinel, you can use Nimrod, and a ton of, most of the other relatively good Kitty counters. It basically is Kitty on Aggression Prowess. As long as you can keep on top of those prowesses or inflict cowardice on Kitty, there's nothing to that fight. So again, your top tech champions will likely do perfectly fine here without too much to worry about. It's, again, realistically, the most annoying node there is Oscillate that can make Kitty go kind of defensive at times. But, Nimrod it, Iron Doom it, Omega Sentinel it, or what have you. And it's not too bad. So, let's go to the screen here. So again, whittle down, just debuff heavy champions, really generic path. Use like Science and Cosmic champions ideally, or Science and whatever other class that we needed to counter there was. Titan Mystic, I think. So whatever inflicts 3 debuffs will do perfectly fine on that Whittled down path. Micro Stinger, Kitty, Bishop, Toad, Apoc. Most important thing on that path is bring counter to Mangog. And also remember, you can kind of just ignore the node and bring in champions that don't particularly rely on special attacks and you'll be just fine. Siphoning Strength, Guillotine, Doom, Claire, Diablo, Hood, Scarlet Witch will all do phenomenal there. So going to be a very good and fun time. Arrogance Path, Angela, Odin, Odin's pre-fights, Hulkling, Gore, Surfer, Venom. Make sure to bring a counter for Iceman and you will have very easy time there. Darkhold pages, Titania, Scorpion, Kingpin, Spider-Man 2099, Nick Fury, Black Panther, Doom, Claire, Torch, Elsa, all will do fantastic there. And then we have Retaliate with Omega Sentinel, Rocket, Silver Centurion, Warlock, Vision, Penny, if she's relatively high, Sig Yondu, what have you. And for the boss fights, Penny, Hulkling, Venom, Venompool, Galen, Herc, Magneto, Morningstar. Sorry, that's not Morningstar, that's Cersei. I need to change that name. Whoopsies. I adjusted the champions, but I didn't change the boss names from the previous quest. So for Cersei, we have Tiger, Intro, Weekend, Diablo, Mojo, Longshot, and for Kitty, we have Nimrod, Omega Sentinel, Idoom, Guardian, Guillotine 2099, Yondu, what have you. And that is it. So now we only have 8.26 left. That's it for now, and I'm going to catch you guys later. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about